Biden has totally lost control of inflation. It's back. It's raging back.
So inflation was supposed to be cooling down, but higher gas prices, rent, home prices, they are driving prices higher. New data showing consumer prices rose 3.5% in March, the highest in 6 months. The hotter than expected report sending the stock market lower, with the Dow falling roughly a percentage point. Matt, seems like a bit of a bumpy road ahead.
Yeah, Brianna, it does increasingly feel like inflation is sort of stuck here. But some of the progress has really stalled out. This is the third straight hotter than expected inflation report. Economists are increasingly describing inflation as stubborn, with one even comparing it to a toddler that just won't leave the playground. And a report like this, it does not help the idea of getting an interest rate cut anytime soon. And what's interesting is we've even heard from two former Obama officials, Larry Summers and Jason Furman. They've suggested, Brianna, that the next move from the Fed might not be a rate cut. It could be a rate hike.
Oh, my Lord.
I do actually think we might have some breaking news on inflation. So let's go to Kate for that.
This just in, inflation is headed in the wrong direction right now. The latest consumer price report just out shows prices up 3.5%. Right.
I want to read for you one sort of commentary we just got. This coming from JP Morgan, David Kelly. The door on June rate cuts just slammed shut.
And just ahead, President Biden on the defensive right now over his handling of the economy after a new spike in inflation. There's breaking news from Wall Street. Stock prices falling sharply today, with the Dow Jones Industrials down 422 points at the closing bell. Investigators very anxious about a new spike in consumer prices and its impact on the economy.
The president can't seem to shake the bad news when it comes to his polling numbers. He did get some more bad news today with that inflation report, and it came as a former top aide criticized the president's messaging on the economy. A seemingly endless headache for American consumers at the cash register and for President Biden at the ballot box. New numbers show that annual inflation ticked up higher than expected last month. Consumer prices rising to a 3.5% increase in the 12 months ending in March, fueled in part by higher mortgage prices and rising gas prices. But this comes as Biden's former White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, known as a loyalist, slams the president's messaging on the economy. In comments obtained by Politico, Klain said his former boss spends too much time talking about infrastructure. Quote, I think the president is out there too much talking about bridges. If you go into the grocery store, you know eggs and milk are expensive. The fact that there's an effing bridge. Klain goes on to say, like it's a bridge, and how interesting is the bridge? It's a little interesting, but it's not a lot interesting.
Last month, you predicted the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates thanks to falling inflation. But today, data showed that inflation rose more than expected for the third straight month. So how concerned are you about the fight against inflation stalling? And do you stand by your prediction for a rate cut?
Well, I do stand by my prediction that before the year is out to be a rate cut. This may delay it a month or so. I'm not sure of that. We don't know what the Fed is going to do for certain. But look, we have dramatically reduced inflation from 9% down to close to 3%. We're in a situation where we're better situated than we were when we took office, where inflation was skyrocketing. And we have a plan to deal with it, whereas my opposition talks about two things. They just want to cut taxes for the wealthy and raise taxes on other people. And so I think they have no plan. Our plan is one I think is still sustainable.